Planning influences the allocation and distribution of land. Planning influences property rights. The law defines the boundaries and the scope, how planning can intervene in property rights. It protects property rights and it protects the public interest, both sides of it. And therefore, planning law and property rights matter both societally and academically.
Planning law and property rights are so integral to everything we do and the places we live and work, the places around us, how we access them.
Planning, law, and property rights matter.
There has to be some sort of order, whether it's imposed or comes up from the ground roots, to deal with resources, to deal with things, and particularly those things are property.
And if you believe this, you probably also believe in Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny. In fact, planning often leads to very inefficient land uses, and law rather protects those who already have land and not those who deserve to use land. Property rights promote vested interests much more than a climate-friendly, resilient and sustainable development of cities.
Is essential not only for making sure that cities run smoothly and in an equitable manner, but also for cities, precincts, and even smaller areas. We have zoning and other type of planning instruments. But all of that, the intention with all of that is actually to create a built environment, buildings. But buildings alone and property rights can't exist without people. So property rights, the urban environment and the built environment need planning law. So property and planning and law, all of it fits in together.
And I think that people today face a lot of challenges. Societies and countries face a lot of challenges, austerity, lack of funds. And in this regards, planning, law, and property rights allow you to actually manage these situations. They actually manage to help you deal with controversial issues, with conflicts between different stakeholders. They coordinate between stakeholders in this multi-entity, multi-interest world that we live in.
I am convinced there's no better way of understanding your own system than to compare it with the other systems in the other countries. Therefore, I really appreciate the opportunities granted by PLPR to exchange with my colleagues from other countries. So what I can do to make cities more sustainable is to understand the technical and the legal aspects of how the city are developing.
Because findings within one discipline is challenged or needs to be compromised by findings of the other discipline. And this brings us to development of more comprehensive understanding of social problems.
Planning law and property rights, the intersection of those three areas has come into particular focus with the area of environmental law, which sits outside of some of the mainstream areas of the property law that we're used to.
All of these things, the allocation, the consciousness of the number of people and the scarcity of resources, all mean that we have to have a system. That's what planning, law, and property rights are all about.
I think it's really invaluable. But in terms of also thinking about shared challenges and thinking about teaching law to non-law students, there's a lot of similarities there across the globe. And because of that, there's also a lot of shared weaknesses and shared challenges. So like I said, there's an awful lot that we can learn from each other. I know that good examples, good practices exist out there. We just need to find them, we need to share them, and we need to celebrate them.
And this is why PLPR is necessary, because we are constantly discussing how planning, law, and property can be used to improve resilient, climate-friendly, and sustainable cities.
So really, planning, law, and property rights touch upon all of our lives in one way or another, and I think are fundamental to the quality of our lives.
each of those topics is important in its own right, but what's really important is how they affect each other. So it's more the intersection of those topics that help us understand what's going on within each of them. You can't really think about property rights without thinking about law. You can't really think about law, at least in a community municipal setting, without thinking about property rights. Land use, property law, planning, law and property rights. Planning is the thing that weaves them together. So it's more how they connect to each other and how every one of those things influences our thinking on the other that's really important and a key part of this organization.